Hey, everybody, I just wanted to give you a quick warning. This is an explicit podcast. We mark it explicit, but due to the nature of the content of this podcast, there is language. So if you have younger listeners or you yourself, your conscience will not permit that, then I would recommend that you skip this podcast and move on to our next one. Otherwise, just enjoy. Thanks. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of All Out War. I'm Turner, and I'm joined again via the internet with Rosie. What's up, Rosie? How you doing, brother?
Hey, good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You holding up in the Rona?
I am, yeah.
No dry cough, no fevers, no loss of
No,
sense and smell and all that taste?
no, I think I'm safe.
Yeah?
I hope so.
Dude, we flattened that curve.
Yeah,
Let's get
I
rolling.
mean, yeah. I was gonna say I don't know what to believe anymore because all the models and everything. But yeah, I'm okay.
Cool.
I'm staying busy.
Yeah, you're busy, man, because you got a lot going on. I do too.
Yeah,
It's crazy how some people in this thing are just like, I'm looking for something to do. They're bored out of their minds, and other people are just like super busy. So,
yeah. I've got so much. One of my new master's class started, so I'm super busy.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
getting that brain action going.
yeah.
Cool. So we got an exciting show for this episode. It's gonna be kind of cool. But before we jump into that, I just was curious what you know, man.
Oh, hey, did you know that toilet paper was invented in the 1850s?
That's
And
appropriate for all the Rona crap we're going through.
yeah, exactly. So, and then, but here's the interesting thing: it could not be advertised as splinter free until 1935.
That would suck.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
I had a friend of mine in like fifth grade talking about Splinter, and they were they were building an addition on the back of their house, and we found a 2x12, and we leaned it up against the fence, and we were sliding down it.
mhm.
And he got
Oh,
he got a big old splinter right in the old the little twig and berries, and
ooh,
yeah, he had to go to the emergency room. It was bad. It
oh, I'm
was
sure.
bad.
Yeah.
That's right. So, anyways, that was a good. Did you know?
Yeah.
I'm glad they've progressed to now Charmin Soft, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Actually, I just had when Charmin was invented. Oh, it was invented during the Great Depression.
Oh, cool.
It was one of the 1928.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally not introduced. What am I trying to say? Advertised towards women because it was a feminine thing.
And
So
yeah, all the men were like, hey, "Yo, I want some of that
it's
soft
good
toilet
too.
paper."
Yeah. So
That's
there
cool.
you go.
All right.
There's a did you know?
Did you know? All right, cool. Hey, we're gonna have an amazing podcast with Carnivore Mike, and we're gonna jump into that in just a second. But right now, I just want everybody to sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War podcast.
What's up, everybody? We are back. Rosie, how you doing, man?
Still doing okay.
All right. Hey, we got a great guest tonight for the podcast. It's a longtime friend of mine, but this is he has an amazing company that he started for a great cause, and just an all around stellar dude. I've been wanting to have him on the podcast for a long time, just to pick his brain about some things, because his life is just so incredible. And I just want to introduce to our audience Carnivore Mike. Carnivore
Hey,
Mike,
how's it going? Thanks for having me.
what's up, man? How are you?
Good, man. I'm good. All good.
So,
Got a little bourbon here and I'm doing good.
yeah, he did. This is the first guest ever to bring with them, and he's in studio, which is awesome too. He brought a gift of bourbon with him.
I
So
ain't scared of Corona.
the Rona runs from you, right?
That's right.
Oh man, it's like that meme I saw of Chuck Norris drinking out of a cup and it says
Right, Corona. Yeah.
Corona on it. Yeah.
Coronavirus, when it goes to bed, it looks under it for me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you, man. Share with us what you're doing. Share with us what Carnivore Mike Foxtrot is and
Sure.
and what you've got going on.
So I have not because I'm some great guy or anything, but kind of a lifetime of service chose me. I didn't really choose it. I just kind of ended up there. 33 years of service between military and law enforcement. Multiple injuries, explosions, have TBI, PTSD as a result of all that service. And we can talk later about PTSD because that means something different to me than a lot of people think. But two organizations specifically came alongside of me, Mission 22 and Boulder Crest, Virginia, came alongside of me and really provided some therapy, treatment to kind of get me straight. And so I just have wanted to give back to those two organizations. And part of my therapy has been that I discovered is the carnivore way of eating, which is the easiest way to explain it is beef and water. Obviously, bourbon is not on there, but this is a special occasion. So I have a couple fingers of bourbon tonight. And through that way of eating, I noticed that it really helped with some depression, anxiety. I wasn't aware that was a byproduct of it, and I looked into it afterwards, and it is a common byproduct to assist with the anxiety and depression. And it kind of calms the brain down. Fat is one of the main fuels of the brain, and since I have a brain injury in the TBI, it really helps out. So part of that, there's a lot of people in the carnivore diet, carnivore way of eating. So I combined that with the military phonetic alphabet, Mike Foxtrot. If you don't know what that means, you can look that up. But a lot like a vegan needs to tell everybody who they are, or a CrossFitter or a Navy SEAL needs to tell you who they are. I'm a carnivore, Mike Foxtrot, and you can look that up and figure that out. But basically, it's some T-shirts that focus on the carnivore way of eating, beef and water. And then I have an American flag shirt on there because we're all about America and supporting veterans. And the proceeds, how that works, we're still working with Mission 22 and Boulder Crest to figure out exactly how that's going to work once we pay all the bills. But a large sum of the proceeds will go to Mission 22 and to Boulder Crest to support other veterans and the cause of Mission 22 and Boulder Crest.
Awesome.
So that's the gist of it. I also started kind of a segue business, second business, Deadly Hands, Blood Money, and that's more of a military line. Those shirts are on Carnivore Mike Foxtrot because my site builder got the Rona somewhere, and he is off the grid in quarantine and can't build my second site. So those are some cool shirts. So basically, really, the goal is to just raise money to give to these organizations to support veterans and first responders, because a lot of times the cops, firefighters get missed. Boulder Crest, they have a location in Virginia, a location in Arizona, and then a satellite location in Georgia called Camp Southern Grounds.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Cool.
And Boulder Crest also has a program for first responders, and then they also have a program for once you go through their program called Warrior Path, you can come back with your family, and then you get to go through this therapy with your family, and that really helps the veteran and first responder.
Oh, so, yeah. That's awesome, man. So tell us a little bit about, so that's where you are now.
Right.
But there's a lot that led up to that.
Sure.
In your background, your past. And so if you don't mind, open up a little bit about,
So I'm an old guy, long in the tooth, gray in the beard. I joined the Navy in 1987, and my daughter calls me Forrest Gump because I'm kind of that unassuming guy that just has ended up 33 years of service and ended up in these historical events and been a main player or a main part of a lot of these historical events and just been blessed to be there and contribute. I served in Desert Storm, saw combat there, combat action medal winner there in Desert Storm. And at some point, at the end of Desert Storm, I came home, and a friend of mine who was in law enforcement, they were hiring, and they said, "Hey, you'd be a perfect fit as in law enforcement." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm in." My 4 years was running out with the Navy. I had the option to stay, and I just felt like at that time I wanted to move on to something else. So I became a law enforcement officer. Again, 15 years there. Blessed. I did every job, I call it every low self-esteem, cool guy job you can find. Typically, the alpha males we've all dad issues or mom issues, or we lost a high school football game. We were trying to recover that, whatever that issue is. But I was a SWAT team guy, SWAT team commander. I was undercover. I was on the DEA task force. Did just about every one of those really cool guy jobs you could do. I did hundreds, maybe, I don't know the exact number, hundreds, maybe 1,000 real world entries as a SWAT team guy. And that's, kicking in the door and going into a house, real world hostage rescues, some where we killed the hostage taker, some where we didn't, always saved the hostage. Probably one of my favorite stories is I was excuse me, I was brand new on the SWAT team, and a father had taken his wife and kids hostage, and me and another brand new guy showed up. We were like the first two SWAT guys to show up. The sniper showed up right with us. So the commander sent the sniper out into the woods, and he said, "You two, you're the first guys. I need you to go up to the house. I need you to draw sketches of the house." There's all these tactical things we do for intel and observation. So he and I sneak up to the house, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. Can't see anything, and your imagination's running wild because you're thinking Jason Voorhees and like monsters, and like you don't know because you don't know what you don't know, obviously. And so the sniper calls in and says, "Hey, I can see him through the window. He has a high-powered rifle on his lap. I think he had a shotgun and a pistol on the desk, big bottle of alcohol, and he's asleep in the house. I can tell he is passed out asleep." So the commander says, "Okay, you and the other guy, you're going to sneak into the house, and I want you to see if you can find the hostages and sneak them out of the house." So he and I go in, and I joke to this day, I run into him every once in a while, and I joke with him that we were like Scooby and Shaggy, and then we argue over who jumped into whose arms, but we kind of like, we sneak into the house and clearly see the guy. He's sitting there in one of these rooms. So I cover down on him. The other guy sneaks upstairs, finds the wife and all the kids, sneaks them out, and then we leave with the hostages. Then it turned it into a barricaded subject, which is way easier and better to deal with tactically. And we went back in and got him, and it all ended well. But it's just a funny story how you think you're a tough guy, and then you're put in that situation, and really your teeth are clattering, and you're trying to figure out who's more scared, you or the bad guy or your partner.
That's right.
But that was a good one. And many others, there's other hostage scenarios where we had to kill the hostage taker, and again, we rescued the hostage, which was great. I did some really cool undercover work, which is where I met you, Turner, while I was undercover.
I was not the bad guy.
Right. He was not the bad guy. Right.
This is a great story. Can I share it from my point of view? And then you can tell us what happened on your end, because I didn't get to see that part. So I was at the mall with a buddy of mine, and it was Christmas time, I think, and we were walking through, and my buddy says to me, "Oh, hey, there's Mike." And we look up, and you're walking towards us, and I had never met you. And you walked, and you just basically nodded your head,
right,
and just kept going. And you looked like you were really pissed off, is what it looked like.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, that's weird. He's never like that." And I was like, "I don't know." Yeah. And then like a couple minutes later, all we hear is police sirens and people, kind of running to where you went. And so we turn around and we walk back down there, and there's all these cops, and there's some dude like sitting on the ground with handcuffs, and
right.
he was pretty beat up. And you were like you were there and then you left.
Right. So my side of that story was I was a cover officer. So, I mean, I looked like I was some kind of biker guy. You know, that's the role that we played. So I had the beard and the tough guy clothes and probably a skull shirt and a beanie on. And so I was the cover officer following the actual undercover that was buying from him. And so, you know, I just didn't, you can't associate anyone with what's going on. Plus I was all business mode. So at some point though, the deal went south and the undercover officer called fumble and so I had to jump on the ball and we just ended up, you know, the guy resisted arrest and yeah, we won that day. That's what I will say. We won that day and proper use of force as always. And
Of course.
We restrained him and
You know what I hate
good
though
guys won.
is when they resist arrest like that, and then you have to put their head through a sink, or you have to use the hair. Like you got it. Like it's an accident. It's unfortunate, but that happens. You know.
It does happen. It does occasionally happen. Plate glass windows,
Right.
Yeah.
If these bad
second
guys.
story windows.
Yeah, I guess so. He
He
jumped. Well, you know, people get scared. They run. You know, they don't know what to do,
Right.
and they don't think.
And their natural reaction is to fight, and that can be a mistake sometimes.
Right. Yeah. So that's how I met you was
Right.
Christmas at the mall, and you were not playing Santa at all.
I was giving out presents.
Yeah, you were. That's awesome, man. So you served as so you got out of the Navy, you
Right.
served in the
So I was
SWAT.
police officer for 15 years, and then 9/11 happened, and you know, I saw friends of mine just giving up everything and going and getting back in, and I didn't go right away because the right opportunity. I had many opportunities to go, but it just wasn't I didn't feel it was a blessed opportunity, the opportunity that I needed to take. That was my direction.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I just was, you know, I had to get back in. I knew that I couldn't let people go over and fight. I felt like it was my duty to be there as well. And eventually I ran into somebody who just had an opportunity and they wanted me to come back in. And so, you know, the rest is history. I went back in and now the career I had established from my prior Navy days and then my time as a SWAT officer, it led me right into this kind of subversive activities and high threat type work. And I ended up, you know, I don't know what the exact days, 1,800 days plus maybe in Afghanistan. A little bit of those days was in Iraq, but I was just more of a fan of Afghanistan. And so, like I said, a lot of days in Afghanistan, a lot of contact, and you know, I was in numerous explosions, breaching, and you know, the byproduct of that now that we know, they didn't know that in the beginning, just like the NFL players, is that repeated concussion, that repeated absorption of those blows from the explosion eventually just will cause the synapse in the brain just says, yeah, I'm done, and it doesn't want to work anymore.
Wow, that's crazy. So but you're highly trained.
Absolutely. Yeah. They have spared no expense. And it has nothing to do with me. It's not like I'm actually the opposite. I'm no super jock or super smart. It's just the repetition and the training and a lot of hours on the range, a lot of hours hitting the house. Now my benefit was those years as a police officer and on the SWAT team, like I said, hundreds, maybe 1,000 entries in the real world. And on top of that, I spent that career practicing in CQB and practicing those hostage rescues. So by the time I got to the big game in Afghanistan, it was second nature. I do a lot of training over the years. I've been blessed to be mentored by Tom Kyer is his name, from SIAC Tactical Group. SIAC is a martial art based off of Filipino eskrima and blade work. And then SIAC Tactical Group is a group of individuals that train different tier one military groups, government groups, and really train the best of the best, and not just in combatives. A lot of their training is based off of logic of thinking, mindset, If this, then that, and which is a big part. A lot of people think combat is all the fighting skills, but it's really a thinking man's game and that maturity of making the right decision. And one of the big things there that we learn in SIOC is feeder versus receiver, that mentality. And basically, that gets confused. But basically, when you are the feeder, no matter what is taking place, you do whatever you need to do to benefit you to come out as a winner. So a lot of people, we use the example of like somebody with a knife and you don't have a knife. Most people would look at that and see that the person with the blade is the feeder. But the type of mindset I have and my tribe has is that I'm still the feeder because I'm going to do whatever I need to do to take that blade away and stick it in your neck. So, and so that type of mentality, not saying that you won't get caught or you cut or hurt or, that's, again, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of layers to it. Mm-hmm. But it's I've just been blessed with being a part of that mental game and that mental training.
Look, can I ask you a question about that? Because I've often wondered this. So I don't know, the different groups that are running, operations, tactical stuff for, chasing down bad guys. You always hear about the mindset.
Right.
And one of the things that I always wanted to know was this something that you had from a young age that you could block out pain, you could just move past?
So I think, I had, my father meant well, but the whole adage, nobody cares, work harder. That's kind of how he was. So yes, I think I was brought up with kind of that type of mentality. I do think that benefits, but also, we talk a lot about in the SIOC tribe about the install, and we work a lot on the install of that mindset. Again, whether it's in pain compliance or logic of thinking, if then, if this, then that type of training. So we work heavily on that. So no, yes, I do think I have a background in it, but it's also, you are able to install that.
What's the biggest obstacle to succeeding with the install?
Probably the modern day society, the view of the modern day society on violence and how that's to us, it's just a business, and I know that sounds cold hearted and I don't mean it as a tough guy, but it's a business. When you're in the world of someone's trying to kill you, then you need to be in that world too. And it's a business decision.
Right. Yeah.
So I would say that you are fighting the install of modern society that's telling you need to be a softer and gentler and, politically correct,
right. Yeah.
Male or female, it doesn't matter, because we have all in this type of world that deals with violence. And really, I'm going to steal from Jack Donovan, and it's violence is golden. And that's the golden rule, is violence. And when you're in that world, like, you have to be prepared for it. And, we have a saying in that we use, it's called kill your clone. And I'm taking this from SIOC, and Tom just talked about this on another podcast. But so kill your clone means every night at midnight, you are going to meet your clone and fight them to the death. So you have to have done something that day to better yourself to kill your clone. And again, it's mistaken. It doesn't have to be combat related. It could be poetry. It could be opening a business like Carnivore Mike Foxtrot. It could be anything that betters you or betters others, that makes you better than your clone was yesterday.
So it's a progress. It's a progression.
It's a progression.
Killing the old
and adding in new.
Yeah.
Again, it could be physical fitness. It could be starting a new diet. It could be I'm going to read a book today, one chapter in a book. Whatever it is. Typically we relate it to some type of combat or some type of violence, but that's not exactly where it's at. It could be any, I'm going towards my master's or my bachelor's degree.
Right.
Something to better yourself that's better than your clone was yesterday.
Cool. So I always imagined in my head, because when I was thinking about it, I was like, I wasn't thinking about the install.
Right.
That went past me. What I was thinking about is, how are they turning stuff off so they can just keep moving forward? That's what I was thinking about. Like, how does that, but what's more important is what you just explained was the install. If you don't get the install right, then you're going to be in that situation and you're not going to have what it takes.
Right.
And you're going to fail. And it could be fatal.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of being in a situation where you can just, like, this is the reality. This is what I have. Here are my options. And then you have to, a lot of times, we get paralysis by analysis, and we want to try to figure out all of these different options. What could I do? And I'm going to go to, it's called the OODA loop. It stands for observe, orient, decide, act.
Yeah.
And we're big on that. And that's done by John Boyd. He's a famous fighter pilot from the Air Force. He revolutionized air-to-air combat, but really the OODA loop can be used, and it can be used in finances. It can be used in hand-to-hand fighting. And once you understand how the OODA loop works, and we can talk about that later or another time or whatever you want, but it has to do with making the decision based on what's confronting you. And it could be like, so I use the example, it could be close to close contact, or it could be take Desert Storm. When Saddam Hussein put his troops on the Kuwaiti border, we could see that by satellite or the imagery they had. But we weren't in a place where we could react to that. So our OODA loop we were too far out of their OODA loop. So it could be that distance trying to make that decision, or it could be one-on-one where I'm having some type of altercation with you and I'm looking for your tell for when you're going to be violent. And then I'm going to try to go first to get inside of your OODA loop. So that, again, it's all training. Like, it's not by mistake. And a lot of people think that, being good at this type of lifestyle is by mistake, or, I don't know exactly how to boil that down. It's very simple. They think it's very simple, but it's a lifetime of being a scholar and being a student of the game, being a student of the game and practicing. And that logic of thinking, actually, people that are really good at this or do it a lot are pretty smart, and at least in this area of figuring it out. And the how do you block out being injured? I mean, you don't really. I mean, a lot of times it sucks. I've talked about, I got shrapnel on my eyeball in the field, and I had to just deal with that until, the only way I could get that shrapnel out was they dug it out with a needle in the field. Like, it was, so I'm laying on my back with the doc and a needle. They're like, hey, I don't have anything to give you, but this thing's sticking out of your eye, and we really need to get it out, but I have a needle. Okay, doc, let's do this. So, you like, here, bite down on this belt. And then they take the needle and he dug it out. So I'm laying on my back, and he's like, I watched this needle going into my eye, and he's digging out this piece of shrapnel, so that I can get up and get moving. But what do you do? There's no, like, at that point, like, you chose poorly in your profession if you can't suck that up and deal with it. If that sounds harsh, and it's harsh and basic, poorly. But you chose poorly. And those are all things that, it's a mindset game that's prepped long before you're in that situation. You're big in visualization. It's the same things that professional athletes do, the Olympic athletes do, that visualization and prepping and practicing. And when you're in it, you're kind of been there 1,000 times already.
So it's really an elite class. Like, it's an elite group of people. Like, when they say elite, I'm thinking like elite athletes. How you get these, professional athletes, boxers, MMA guys, or whatever, and they live, breathe this. There's a lot of second nature that just kicks in.
Right, but you don't have to be an elite individual to make that install. It's just you choose it as a lifestyle,
like a mindset.
Right. Yeah. Like, you can't start running through your scenarios when you're in the scenario.
Right.
You have
It's
to.
too late, right?
You have to have prepped yourself. Now, yeah, there are circumstances where people have done it, yes, but it typically you have to start living that as your lifestyle.
I think you saw, Rosie, were you going to say something?
I was going to say one really interesting thing, just kind of touching on something you had talked about just a little bit ago. So I hope I'm not backtracking too much. But one thing, I have a number of friends that are all in the military or ex-military or served, and one of the big things that I noticed with all the guys in common are they read a lot of like history, military history,
Right,
like books about the Cella Scouts or these great things like that.
Thermopylae and the 300 and yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that all kind of like the helping with the mental?
I think most
installing a new, different kind of way of thinking that might come. I don't know how to describe it properly, but
no, definitely, you're on the right track. I think too. Like I am, and most guys, most people that I know in the community are thirsty for knowledge to be the best that we can be. And a lot of that is because of the person that stands next to you, because you want to be there for that teammate, tribe member, however you want to call it, so that we're the best version of ourselves to win. That's really the goal, is to win as a community and to win as whatever we're doing, whatever it could be.
Sure.
Whether it's a business or in combat. But yes, I mean, the reading part is a huge aspect. And, most guys I know that I travel in my unit travel with a Kindle, or, a couple guys travel with the old school books. But we're always comparing, the different books that we're reading or what our reading is. And
do they ever like look at the dude, like the guy is there always like that one guy on the team that's just like a knucklehead, and like literally everybody looks at him and they just ask him,
why are you gay?
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes like that. There's a lot until one is, and then they write like, yes, until I had a guy on my team, and
that's funny.
Yes, and one of the first outright gay Navy SEALs, and he wrote a big book about it. And,
wow.
Yeah,
he was on your team.
Yeah, and he was competent and
well, I hope so.
Knocked it out, and
well, I don't think you're going to get to that level without. I mean, they're not going to pass you. Like they're not. Oh, he's gay. Just give him the pass. We need
no,
they're not going to do it.
And nobody cared. Like, hey, can you shoot people in the face? Like, that's what we're looking for here. Are you good with that? Okay, we're good. Like,
right.
Are you coming back for me? Yeah, then you're good.
Yeah. So anyways, when we're talking about the install, and you're talking about the mindset, and just it's kind of like it's this whole lifestyle that you've kind of put yourself into,
right?
And it's been a long course of time. Now you're talking over 20 years,
right? About 33 years.
So 33 years.
I joined in 1987. Between that and the cop, and then back in.
And you're dealing with almost every scenario that you're dealing with for work-wise is going to be a negative situation, in the sense of somebody's bad and somebody wants you dead.
Right.
Typically.
Right. Right.
So,
or at least you feel that way.
Yeah.
It might not even be that, but you're prepped for that.
Yeah.
And so you go out, or you prep and do the mission as if, hey, I'm going to put it down tonight. This is it. Like, we're going to finish this.
Yeah.
And yes. Yeah.
So you're going to finish the work. What, you and I were talking about the coffee mindset.
Right.
You had a story you were sharing with me.
So, also I'll talk about, I'll jump into that, but I wanted to cover like that second and third order effect of being at home now. Like there's a scene in the movie, The Hurt Locker, and a lot of people don't like that movie, but there is a scene, they say it's not real, but, I don't care. I wasn't an Army or a bomb guy, but, there's a scene in there when he comes home after all this combat, and he goes to the grocery store and he's trying to pick cereal. And that's like such a true feeling. Like, you're like, there's hundreds of choices of cereal. And I just came from a place where, number one, I got like 2 choices of cereal, and everybody's trying to kill me. So, for me, that just kind of summed up like how you feel when you get back here. Everyone kind of has forgotten the war's going on. Everyone forgets, and they just expect that you're going to come home and shut the gate, your white picket fence when you walk in, and then you're going to go put the cleats on the kids, and you're going to the soccer game, and everything's good. And it's just, that's, going down that PTSD role is a lot of people think it just has to do with, oh, I had to be violent, I had to kill people or whatever. For most guys, they don't care. Like, that's part of the job. They're down with that. That's not an issue. It's just when you come home, your parameters have now changed. So you're still in that parameter of you're not paranoid because everyone is trying to kill you.
Right. Yeah.
And they validated that. So now you come home and you have to try to just switch that back to, I'm soccer dad,
right.
or, and yeah, it's just, that's where a lot of the problem is. And guys just don't feel normal in that environment. I don't know what the answer is. There's,
well, how can it be? It's not,
right.
It's not made normal. Like
right.
that's not there is no scenario that's normal.
Right.
And it's okay.
Right. And that's one of the problems with a lot of the therapy is people telling you, hey, you are normal. And they're not. You're not normal. And you're not going to be normal. Right. So you got to get that. You got to get that square that, hey, I'm not normal now. I got to figure out some new coping mechanisms to, be as normal as I can be. I guess I hate even the word normal, but
right. Yeah. Healthy.
And that's right. Healthy. Right. As healthy as you can be. So
what's the percentage of guys that run in your circles that are really gonna? This is gonna be an issue for them.
I would say it's pretty high. I don't know what the number is, but most guys don't recognize it until it's too late. Right. And my story was, again, I have a lot of days in Afghanistan, and probably I should have stopped traveling probably 2 years before I did. I had reached that saturation point. The wild card in this is my wife, who's been a cop for 25, 26 years, very alpha. Her attitude was, head down, keep moving, right. Which is my attitude, head down, keep moving. Like,
and I can attest to that.
Yes,
you're
right.
Most of your family's that way.
Right. And she's tougher than I am. Yes. She shoots better than me too. But my kids have been raised that way. That's how I am. That's how she is. So when, looking back, we both said, oh yeah, we knew it years ago that, hey, you probably should have stopped. But it just wasn't in us to stop. It just was, you just keep moving forward. So at some point I was talking to another good friend of mine in the community, true badass, Green Beret, Special Forces, like just killed all kinds of people. And he's been around. And somehow he picked up on our phone conversation that hey, Mike's that guy. So a couple hours later, I get a phone call from the founder of Mission 22.
Wow.
Who says, hey, we want to get you some help. And I'm like, I don't need help. I got a sword tattoo. I don't need help. Come on. Have you seen my tattoos? That's a sword. And so however he worded it, it wasn't that I was suicidal or however I took it. I said, no, you don't get it. Like if I was suicidal, I would just kill myself. And he was like, yes, you just validated my point. That's what I'm saying. In a couple months, someone's going to say, hey, remember Mike? Yeah, he killed himself.
Right.
So that kind of resonated with me, and then the steps were in place. But the problem was, and I'll circle back to how many guys, I haven't forgot that. The problem was there's so many guys in line trying to get treatment.
Right.
There's no room, there's no funding, and you just can't get in.
And there's probably a lack of a sufficient amount of qualified people
help.
Exactly. And so the answer, the VA's answer is, and you know this, is let's throw meds at them. And I don't remember what the number is, 27%, 32%, whatever. It increases the rate of suicide on those meds.
Yeah, it's 22.
Right. So a lot of guys will they'll take the meds and then they kill themselves. And the number 22 a day is wrong because I think it's California and Texas do not report their veteran suicides.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So they actually think
states.
the number, exactly, the two biggest states, they actually think the number is above 100, maybe more.
Wow.
Because they don't report those veteran suicides. So
that's more than Rona kills in a day.
Well, I don't know yet. We're not sure. Let's see. Right. We have to do the mass graves in New York and see what.
I'm not making light of that.
I get it. Yeah. No, I'm checking.
I'm a little bitter with the Rona figures.
Yeah, I know.
So
I get it. So most guys, by the time they go, to answer your question, most guys, by the time they go for treatment, they have surrendered. And that's where I was. Like once you let your guard down and you're like, wow, like, yeah, like I need help, man. Like when I drive by a tree, I think and it's not in a suicidal way. It's just like, wow, what would it be like to just drive my car into that as fast as I could?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, what would happen? Like weird things like that. So by the time I got there, you know, I had surrendered and I was ready. Whatever you need me to do, like I'm willing to, I'll say whatever, I'll pretend whatever, I'll get an address and do a play, whatever you need me to do to try to figure out how I can and get these brain waves back to normal.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys don't go.
Yeah.
And so
You think that it's because it feeds into that I've been handling death. I can handle this.
right. Well, I think it's a societal, it's a an alpha male mentality not to ask for help. And a lot of people when they have those issues in the with their mind or mentally, they're not thinking clearly. Their reality is different.
Yeah.
And again, they're alpha. I'm going to handle this.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring a permanent solution to this temporary problem.
Right.
And that's where they end up with, because and I said this to my family, like, I am a burden.
Right.
And I cannot be a burden.
Yeah.
So,
because you're trained also to be the guy that they can depend on.
Right. And have a solution.
I'm not the guy that's in the back.
So if I'm a problem,
slowing everyone down. Yeah.
If I'm a problem, the solution is to remove myself from the equation.
Wow.
And a lot of guys think that way.
Wow.
So, it's kind of like, what's my shelf life? That's how they kind of think. My shelf life is over. Like I no longer have a mission. I no longer have any service to this, to this family or this whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And
well, I can imagine that like there's a brotherhood that's pretty strong. When you go through battle to face death and you conquer, I can imagine that puts it knits like
it does.
unity.
However, how you dealt with it is different than how I dealt with it.
Right.
And if I call you with my stuff and your cup is full,
right.
Now I'm pouring my cup into your cup.
Right.
And so it's almost like you can't always rely on others. So the only time you can rely on them is, and man, this sounds cliche, like a big sales pitch, and I don't want it to sound like that, but that's where I'm at. I'm on the back end. I've come through it. And now I can't be a therapist, but
right.
I can try to help get guys to who can be a therapist.
That's right.
So when you're in it, you can't give anything because, man, you're just trying not to stick sharp things in your throat.
Yeah.
You're just trying to make it. But once you come out of it, now you're that guy. Now I can probably provide some help. But when you're in it, you're just not there. Like you're barely surviving because of the way you handled it is different than the way I handled it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I know there's this really good analogy that I've always heard for people that are in recovery. Like there's like someone is in like this big crater, so to speak, or this big hole, and like all these people keep walking by it and whatever, and like a doctor's walking by and he's like, oh, you should do this to get out of it. You can, do this and that, and all these people keep walking by, and eventually, this other guy walks in and hops down inside,
right, and
says, and then the guy that's originally there is like, hey, what are you doing now? We're both here. And the other guy, the guy that jumped down, says, yeah, but I've been here before. I can show you how to get through it.
Right, I know the way out.
And I know the way out. So is that? I mean, that's kind of like what it is almost in a
yes, that's a good analogy and a good story.
You have to be selfish first to take care of your own crap,
right, exactly,
and then you can go back and
That's one of the lessons. All of these, most of these, anyway. These organizations or the therapy, it's like a plane. Like if you're in there with your kid, you don't put the oxygen mask on your kid first. You put the oxygen mask on so you don't pass out.
Right.
And that's really,
and it's totally against the mindset.
Totally. Yeah,
so
totally right.
That's the hardest part about
it. Again,
it.
not just normal, but for me, you got to save everybody.
Right.
Like I'm here to say, I'm here to save you. But really,
Yeah.
you got to save yourself, and you got to work that shit out
But
with
you don't
yourself.
you don't even have to say it. Like I've said it to you before. I'm like,
Right.
I remember you and I had a conversation one time. This is the best. This is the best thing you ever said to me. It was so great. I asked you if you were a prepper, and you're like, no, I'm not a prepper. You're almost like offended. And I was
Right.
all right, cool, man. I'm like, whatever. Like, what are you gonna? What I said? What I think I asked you if I could be the chaplain of your of when it hits the fan, if I could just be the chaplain of whatever group you're a part of that survives this thing. And I said, you don't prep, what do you do? And you go, oh, I just go take it from the guys that do prep. And I just laughed so hard.
I'm not so sure I said that. I'm not so sure that was me. I don't know.
It may not have been you.
It may have been. I don't know.
But my whole point in that is that there's people that begin to look to you, and you don't need them to look to you.
Right.
Like you need the help. It's like the guy with the broken leg can't help the other guys.
Right.
He needs the help, and he needs that oxygen mask, like you were saying, which is a great analogy. That what's the like your wife is extraordinary because she actually has she's been equipped for high stress situations and some of what you've gone through.
Right.
But a lot of these wives,
Well, I'll tell you,
spouses don't have that.
Yeah, and even with the training she's had, it was hard, and we didn't know it. To the point she ended up going to Boulder Crest as well.
Yeah.
Because it's actually worse a lot of times for the spouse and the family because they don't focus on themselves.
Right.
They focus on that first responder or veteran, whoever the family member is. And so for many years, she was the sole provider.
Yeah.
And a cop, and the second and third, who's to say what the second and third order effects of, the kids or the wife, we're still figuring all that out, where that all lays. But she didn't pick up on, the trauma and the issues. She was not only just from being a cop alone, like her trauma and her PTSD from doing that every day. And then dealing with me. I came home probably for about 5 years. I would sleep in a sleeping bag.
Wow.
Because I couldn't sleep in a bed, and you hear those stories, and it's true, man. I couldn't sleep in a bag. The same sleeping bag I took to Afghanistan, I would just roll it out on the floor and crawl up in there, and I would sleep like a baby. I would sleep I would have great sleep as far as sleep goes. Now, that's a funny story as well. One night, my daughter got a phone call late, and I heard her side of it, and all she said was, "Oh no, don't worry about it. He doesn't sleep. He just waits." And so when she hung up, I asked her, I was like, what was that all about? She was like, oh, that was so-and-so. They called and they were worried that it was late and she didn't want to wake you up. And so I just told her, like, you don't sleep, you just wait. and I don't, like, I just, that alertness to this day, like, I hear a noise and I'm up. What?
Right.
I'm up. So they just say, oh, my dad doesn't sleep. He just waits.
Whenever you and I sit in a coffee shop, it's almost frustrating to talk to you because you're constantly scanning the room, and I'm like, did he just hear what I said, or did he,
But I hear it all. That's what, like, I
all.
hear it all. I engage, and again, that's that install of everything. But that takes its toll, man. I call it the curse of the warrior, and you're constantly, like, you're just never off. Like, sometimes you just want to be, but it's just ingrained. But it's saved my life before. It's literally saved my life. And I know you wanted a story, and so I'll tell my coffee story.
Yeah.
It's one of my kids love this story, and they ask me to tell it all the time. I'm a big coffee drinker, just black coffee. And I was overseas one time, and overseas black coffee is not common. So that's where the drink Americano came from, because the Americans wanted strong coffee, so they would put shots of espresso with water. Where I was, there was a place that had good, true, just black, really strong coffee. I'm a big MMA, BJJ, fighter guy. I mean, I can't beat anybody, but I love to do it. But I love to watch the UFC. So the UFC comes on overseas. It comes on early in the morning. So we were working really late, and my plan was, I'm going to go get one of those really good coffees, and then I'm going to go sit and watch the UFC. So we ended up working extra late, and the pre for this is that again, the mindset, the install of being a feeder versus a receiver is like you're never out of the fight. You're always trying to prep to be the winner.
Mm-hmm.
So we get back. Now, I'm not going to say where we were, but I run. It's really late. It's like 2 a.m. And I know this place closes at like, 1:30, 2 o'clock, whatever it is. So I sprint up into the center of the city, and I get to this place, and they're still open. And I get a, extra large black coffee, and it's really, really hot. So I'm walking back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back, and this is perfect. I'll probably make myself some dinner, and then I'll have this coffee, and I'll watch the UFC. And so there's a park in the center of this city. And during the daytime, the park is, man, it's nice. And people are walking their dogs and their kids, and there's flowers and a koi pond. But once the sun goes down, it turns into I Am Legend. So it got so bad with muggings and incidents in the park. We weren't allowed to go in the park after dark.
Wow.
Any Americans, any U.S. citizens were not allowed in the park at night. So if I go through the park, I can get to my apartment in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. But if I have to go all the way around, it's 45 minutes to an hour.
Oof.
All the way around to the other side of town. So I have my coffee. I walk up to the edge of this park. It's really lit. It's lights everywhere. But when you get to the park, it's just pitch black, like just a wall of black. And so I'm standing there and I'm like, again, man, that's a sword tattoo. And then on this arm, I have a skull tattoo. Like, no one's going to mess with me. Like, come on. No one's going to mess with me. And I got a big beard.
And you're not short. You're like, what, 6'2",
About
6'3"?
6'3". So I was taller until I got blown up and I lost some inches in my neck. But, so I'm like, I'm going to do this. No one's going to mess with me. So I go into the park, and I'm about 100 yards into this park, and out from behind a tree, a guy steps out and starts yelling at me in a foreign language. Mm. So I just kind of try to ignore it. I step to my left, and he matches my step, and sticks his hand in his pocket. So all of this now, from here on out, it's like split second, hundreds of it, whatever. It's really fast. This is all going to go fast. But I'm going to tell you what's going on in my head. The part that I haven't told you is, for years pre this, as part of my install and my practice, I thought, wow, I drink a lot of coffee and it's hot. So that would be a great weapon of opportunity to throw some hot scalding coffee into someone's face. So I had been practicing over the years to pop the lid off of coffee to throw it into someone's face.
Only you.
So when he steps in front of me, and again, now we're going to go into the mindset. So your typical person would think like, oh my God, I'm about to get mugged. I'm probably going to die. I'm thinking I'm about to win the gold medal in the Olympics. Like, this is great. I've practiced this for so many years, right? I've been going through the dunk tank and how I'm finally going to outer space as an astronaut. I practiced and the original astronaut got pulled off the flight line and I'm the replacement astronaut. I'm getting to go out into outer space. So he's yelling at me, he shoves his hand in his pocket and it's taking place. It's going now. You can't stop it. As a hitman would say, you got to pay twice as much to stop it as you did to start it. So I popped the lid of the cup. It's falling to the ground. I'm looking right at him in the face. And the beauty of it was I saw his eyes track the lid as it started to fall to the ground. And he knew, as well as I knew, it was up. Yeah. This was done. He may not have wanted to admit it to himself, but it was done. So he's still like, he stops in mid sentence as he's tracking that lid. All this is in hundreds of seconds or whatever that smart guy talk for seconds. So I start to throw the coffee. And again, this is mindset and training. Literally in my head is talking to me and it's like, hey, Mike. And I'm like, yes, self. And self says, because I was going to let go of the coffee and transition to a handgun that I had on me. And myself says, hey, Mike, if you let go of the cup may twist in the air and none of the hot coffee will get on him. and then we're not gonna get that impact. So Mike, hold on to the cup and make that little jerk with your hand so that the coffee comes out of the cup and fully scalds him in the face, and then we'll see where it lands from there. And I was like, Self, that's a great fucking idea. So I let go of the coffee, splashes him in the face. He starts screaming like the best analogy I have is like the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz. He starts screaming like he's melting, like the hot coffee's burning his face. And I'm not a big kick people in the groin guy, but we do kick a spike kick we call it the A-frame. So I had these big steel toe combat boots on, and he's screaming. He presents that A-frame to me, and I stepped into that guy and I kicked him as hard as I could right there in the taint, in between the two places, because it taint one and it taint the other. And there's a bundle of nerves that are completely wide open right there. Completely knocked him out. He fell straight down like a building that, like when they implode a building, straight down. I thought I'd killed the guy. Stopped, no sound, just straight down, fell down into a lump of probably feces and urine, maybe blood, I don't know, and coffee. And so I looked at him for a second, and I just turned around and ran out of the park.
Wow.
And I did go back, and the next day I told one person, but since that's how it works, in the military, is I wouldn't have gotten a praise for saving the day. I would have gotten in trouble for going in the park. So,
right.
So I just didn't tell anybody except for my guy, my right-hand man.
Right. Yeah.
But the guy was gone the next day, and he didn't die.
Somebody picked him up.
Somebody picked him up, drug him off, probably stole his clothes. Or whatever, so. But it's a mindset. There's a whole there's layers to that story on mindset.
Yeah.
And how that played out. Like I didn't just end up there and throw the coffee on him or any of those other discussions. Like that spike kick, I practiced 1,000 times.
Right.
The mental talk, the visualization, the coffee, and even if I had to transition to my handgun, I've done that 1,000 times. So it's all about that install.
What's amazing is you actually reasoned to not go for your handgun, which is probably your first instinct in that situation. Like that's going to be lethal.
Well, the problem is, again, no, because I really wasn't at a level of where I could have deployed or employed lethal force. So I really wasn't there yet. I don't know what it was in his pocket. I don't know.
So you pulled a kill. Like you're not going to just have him lay down on the ground and.
No. I would. That's not our gig. We're not. We're not cops or anything like that. No.
Right.
So, it's just you match that violence, or we don't match. We go above the violence. So, you're never a one for a one.
Did it feel good? Did it feel good? Like when you were done, like when you walked away, you were like, "Damn, that was like I've been wanting to do that for so long."
No, because I was worried about getting in trouble. Because that's how it goes. Like
so
that's how you
enjoy
get.
It.
No, because it's like I was in the park.
You couldn't even enjoy it.
I was in the park. Like I can't tell anybody. So I went and told my best friend,
right?
And he and I have been deployed many times back to back, or hey, this is it. Like, hey, okay, save one bullet for ourselves, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I went and told him, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna get in trouble because you were in the park." Same thing. So for years I didn't even tell the story because you're not supposed to be in the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got more in trouble for wrecking a truck than killing the wrong guy one time. So, yeah. So that's how it works in the like you wrecked a brand new truck. But
but those are really expensive.
They are.
Was it a really Humvee or like a Suburban thing?
It was a Chevy, I think.
Yeah.
It was a really nice brand new. It's probably $80,000, $100,000.
Oh yeah.
4-door.
Armored up, right?
Truck, yeah.
Sweet.
But yeah.
That's cool. That's cool, man. That's a cool story. I like that. I like how yourself was talking to yourself and in the middle of it. I've actually been in situations like that. I used to I'm literally nobody.
Well, it's all relative. It's all relative.
Yeah, I mean, in high school I wrestled, and I can remember a guy set me up for this move that I'd been practicing, and he just literally stepped right into setting it up for me.
Right.
And I executed, and I looked like the most amazing wrestler ever.
Right.
They're like, how in the world? And I was like, he just set me up. Like,
Right. Well, no, but you practiced that 1,000 times. That's the thing. Like, how many times? Hundreds of times, whatever.
Yeah.
So you practiced it, and that's
Five.
the install.
Five
right.
times.
5 times. That's more than he did, right?
I'm just
The more than he practiced the counter.
Right.
So it worked.
He
But
was a
that's-
noob too.
And I tell, like, it's funny when I say, hey, self, hey, yeah, Mike. I tell it that way, so it's funny. But also to reiterate the point, that's literally what's going on. That's self-talk. Like, sometimes your brain needs to just tell you, get the fuck up and get moving.
Right.
Or get up if you need to take that out of there, because I said the F word.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
So sometimes you need that. And I tell it funny like that, but that's really how the install takes place.
Yeah.
Like, you are talking to yourself. You are that visualization. But it really went down that way. I mean, I can tell you many times where I've had those in combat or driving or numerous situations where you do talk to yourself, and it is a self, or it's self-talk, but it's like another voice.
So let's go ahead, Rosie.
I have kind of a question that might be a really weird one, but it's just popped in my head. So has there ever been a time where, so obviously, like, you're able to differentiate, like, your brain saying, okay, this is, taking in all the information, and it's like, this is calculating, do this. Has there ever been a time where you've heard maybe a little supernatural, or maybe you would say it was God or something like that, where your brain, just a voice from outside of yourself, like, told you do this instead, or anything like that? Has that I'm just
I mean, I am a believer. I am a Christian, and I don't ask people, are you a Christian? I say, are you a believer? Because to me, there's a difference in being a Christian and being like, I believe in the magic and swallowed by a whale, and he fed the masses and all the, the magical, biblical walk on water stuff. I do believe that there is a supernatural, like, spirit world that has an angel. I don't know if it's an angel,
Right.
I do believe that I've had that whisper. Maybe that wasn't me. Like, and like, get up and get moving. Yeah. And shortly after that, someone was there that if I'd been where I was, it would have been bad. And, a lot of guys in my units are dead. Like, they're dead. They're not here. And, I don't know, but I do believe it. Yes. I do believe it. Yes. I have had that whisper.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine you belong to the Lord. He's going to, he's going to speak.
Right. I do. And it does. And, I also believe, though, as a Christian believer or whatever, you're not protected. Like, sometimes you're not going to be plucked from from death or danger.
Well, you are.
So I do believe
we are plucked
for
from
eternity.
Death, for eternity, right? So,
but just, you're not going to. You can't jump in front of a train,
and
think that he's going to magically lift
bullets
you.
are going to stop. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to a story about my wife. It's just an excellent story about, like, what you were talking about. So. My whole team got blown up. Now I had been sent to a different location, and my whole team, they were blown up. And one of the guys that got killed, someone had gone home to his funeral and they had videotaped it. And so a couple weeks later, I walked in on them playing this funeral. Excuse me. I did not know that that's what I was walking in on, but as I walked in, this, like, 5 or 6 year old daughter on the video rushes the coffin.
Oh, man.
And they're like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And so I walked in on that, and then I realized, and it crushed me. And so I totally related that to me and my daughter. I was in the coffin. I was the guy that died. My daughter was left fatherless. And I have 5 other kids, so 6 total. So they were all left fatherless. Wife was widowed. So I went back to my room, a hooch. It was a little Connex box. And I sent an email to the wife, and I said, I'm done. Like, I've got enough days. There's enough new guys that can come in. I'm packing my bags. I'm going to get an emergency flight out of here. I'm done. I'm hanging it up. So I start packing my bag. And while I'm packing my bag, and this goes back to head down moving forward, I hear my email, pring, and I turn around and I open the email. It's from the wife. And it was one sentence. And ironically, people in my house today will yell this. If someone's whining in my house, they will yell this. And the one sentence she said was, "You were chosen to be a hero, so act like one."
Nice.
And so I was like, yeah, right. And I was like,
wow,
oh, fuck, I can't go home now.
Yeah.
So I had to unpack and got my head straight, shook me out of it.
Yeah.
But, that's,
wow.
like, if not me, then who? And sometimes you get lost in that, and
Yeah.
you start carrying that burden of other people.
Yeah.
But again, as a joke, like people will yell that. Someone's whining. You'll hear a kid. It could be a 9-year-old. "You act like a hero," and they'll yell from the other room, which of course pisses that person off that's whining. So
yeah, right.
But yeah, just that's kind of that mindset.
Cool. So what's the future for for Carnivore Mike Foxtrot and Deadly Hands Blood Money?
So the main goal is to raise money for Mission 22 or the Boulder Crest.
So what are your products? What do you guys have right now? You
So
have t-shirts?
I got some t-shirts. Again, I got t-shirts that focus on the carnivore way of eating, but I've also got some really cool distressed American flag t-shirts. We got a red, the red American flag, which is stands for Remember Everyone Deployed, and that shirt is worn every Friday.
Oh, nice.
So it's called Red Friday. So there's multiple that's put out by many people, but we have our own version of that Red Friday flag. And then I have other American, blue, navy, black, those flags. And then Deadly Hands Blood Money, that's more focused towards military. We have, it's called the E4 Mafia t-shirt, just says E4 Mafia. And if you don't know what the E4 Mafia is, you're not going to want the shirt. But if you are E4 Mafia, the E4 is typically the backbone of the military that gets everything done, and that's who people focus on. Sometimes maybe by the rules and sometimes not by the rules to get it done. I was so good at being an E4. The U.S. Navy made me an E4 twice. And that's Mad Dog's Pub in Hong Kong was selling 2-for-1 Long Island iced teas, and they do serve bread and water in the brig. I'll tell you that. That's true if you ever hear that story. But we have the E4 Mafia shirt, and then we have another really cool shirt on the Deadly Hands line. That's it's a Viking helmet with night vision goggles, which is pretty cool. So it's a modern twist on the Viking helmet.
Cool.
Then we've got some others that are getting ready to come out. They're being designed right now. But
so you're going to roll out some new products?
Yeah, a couple of new products coming out. Cool. And then I have somebody making custom knives and custom meat cleavers for the carnivore side.
Nice.
Cutting boards. But the goal is just to make money to give to Mission 22 and Boulder Crest. And
that's cool.
Yeah, that's the goal. Again, just continuing that line of service. And I go back to Kill Your Clone, and for me, I'm inherently good. So when I started thinking about that a couple months ago, I was like, to really do this, I need to become a villain, and to be the villain, to kill myself, I need to go a completely different way. And that's how I ended up with, we're going to start a t-shirt company. I'm totally not an entrepreneur. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I literally was, the other day I wanted the Viking helmet with night vision goggles. So I printed out a picture of a Viking helmet, and then I printed out night vision goggles, and I had scissors and I had tape, and
you're going old school, man.
I'm like taping it, and I took a picture, and then I sent it to an artist, and I was like, this is what I want right here, and this is my mock-up. And so I don't know anything about the Facebook ads or Insta. I'm doing them, but I don't know if I'm doing it. Could be going to grandmas that are 60 years old or 65 years old, and it's not even going to who, but I'm trying to figure all that stuff out. But
I could probably help you with that.
All right,
we'll
awesome.
have to talk off air.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Rosie's got some experience with social media stuff.
Okay, cool. I do have a plan, and my Instagram, I have like almost 400 followers in 2 weeks, and
dude, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just all about giving back. That's really the plan. And,
man, that's
Patriot
cool.
and love America and all that good, red, white, and blue, and kill.
Well,
no, don't feel that.
Well, I want to say that I've known you for a long time, probably 16, 17 years.
Easy.
Yeah. I think so. But I've always had just tremendous respect for you from the beginning. Just
appreciate that. Thank you.
Knowing what you do and who you are. And we've had a lot of serious conversations.
Yeah.
We've walked through a lot of stuff together just as friends, brothers. And I'm just thankful for you and all that you
mutual.
This is going to sound corny, but I am thankful for your service. I am thankful for what, your sacrifice,
Yeah. Well, my answer to that is thank you. and it's my honor. And that's that's everybody that I know it's our honor. Like, it really is. Like, we like the appreciation. We may not show it. We don't want to get it probably, but it's been our honor to serve, and and we have great pride in that, and we just don't typically say it or wear it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I'm going to say to our listeners. If you're listening to this right now, I just want to encourage you to just go to carnivoremikefoxtrot.com and buy a shirt. Show some support.
Buy a couple shirts.
Buy a couple.
Buy a lot of shirts.
Yeah, get a couple shirts. Yeah, don't buy.
Discount code is CMF10. Get you 10% off. It's free shipping. I give free shipping. I pay for the shipping out of the shirt, and just to make it easy, it's just easier.
Yeah.
CMF10 and free shipping,
and share it with a friend, and let's show some support to this, because this is an important thing. These men, these women that serve our country and serve for our freedoms, they deserve to be taken care of when they come back, and they need to be taken care of the correct way, not just like born on the 4th of July style. We're talking it has to be the right way, that's going to be healthy and bring the family along with it.
Right. Nice.
I have the privilege of knowing your family, your kids, really closely, and they have given up as much as you have, Mike.
Right. Absolutely. Probably more. Yeah. It's been rough. They've had a rough.
It's not it's not an individual. It's a family that gets pulled into this thing.
Right.
So, and also pray for our veterans, pray for our military, our operators that are doing this work, because it's vital. Number one, the mission is very, very important, and probably more important now than it's ever been, especially with this new
enemy.
Yeah, enemy, because it looks like China's going to be the new enemy.
Yeah.
Well, not the new.
Right.
They've been around, but they're going to be on the forefront now, and we're going to have to pay. There's going to be some stuff happen. Who knows how this is going to go down?
Right.
But hopefully, not a lot of loss of life, but a lot of big change that will dismantle the communist, people. But the families get drug in.
Absolutely. So it's a missed aspect for me included. You think you're missing them while you're gone and throughout, but then we're learning. They took a hit. They took a hit, and they didn't Roger up for it. That's the other thing.
Right.
they just kind of
like
they were along for the ride, and next thing you know, I've been gone a long time, and then I came back sick, and they saw me at their worst, my worst, their best, my worst, and that's quite a thing for them to see. So,
man, yeah. Wow, dude. Well, Rosie, you got anything you want to throw into this?
I mean, nothing more than I was going to say. I know it sounds corny as well, but thank you for your service, and thank you for your family, and thank you for coming on the podcast, man. It was really great, and I enjoyed it, and been looking forward to this for a while. So
yeah, thanks for making it happen. Thanks for
So hopefully next time I'll be able to be in studio with everyone.
Yeah. Can I hit that? Will that say that?
It's a song.
Oh, okay, never mind. There's a button that says wash your hands. I wanted to hit it the whole time.
Hit the green stuff.
Yeah.
Smoking that sticky green stuff.
We hit that on every episode.
I've been distracted by the colorful buttons on the console the whole time.
That's right. So there is one thing that I was gonna share. Rosie was talking there. Shoot. Oh yeah. Okay. So you trained me when I first I want to say train. You gave me training.
Right.
When I first got a gun.
Right.
And you taught me proper hold, thumb, like how to hand everything, the grip, And I remember I would go to the range, and that would be whatever you told me was gospel.
Right.
Because I knew it was working, because you were alive, and you'd go over and you'd come back, and so I knew it worked.
Right.
And we had someone break into my vehicle and my next door neighbor's vehicle, and you made me look like the most amazing badass ever. My wife thought I was like one of you guys.
All right.
For like 24 hours.
Well, you were obviously
for a second.
You practiced it.
What happened was the guy that broke into my vehicle ripped open my center console, and I had a Jeep, and he opened up my garage door, and my bedroom's right against the garage door. So we heard it open, and I jumped up and I grabbed my weapon, And I opened the door to the garage. As I opened it, I slid around into the chamber because it wasn't chambered. My mistake.
Right.
That has never
happened
since-
again.
Never
Never happened again.
But
Only happens once.
It don't happen once.
That's
but
called a dead man's gun, by the way.
Yeah,
Just so you-
exactly.
Yeah.
But check it out. It worked because the guy heard me chambering around.
Right.
And as the door was open, he heard that slide in that rack, and he freaking screamed to his buddy in the other car next door, my neighbor, and he's like, "Run!" And I walked out, and I had perfect grip and
Right,
form.
nice.
And it was up front, I was front sight, everything. And when you were talking about the coffee mug,
Right.
you were talking about the cup was
Yep.
flipping. There was like all these thoughts in my head were going through, like, if he's in my garage, do I shoot him? If he's facing me, if he's not facing me, what do I do?
Right.
Like, I was going through scenarios as I was literally opening a door and sliding around into the chamber of my gun.
Nice.
But
Good.
but that was, just even the way that I did all of that, you had worked with me.
Oh,
And,
awesome. Good. That's good to know. Nice.
You guys, and I say you guys, there's a group of us that have in the past,
Right. Very cool.
But yeah. So, anyways, for whatever it's worth, my wife thought I was super.
Nice. Got you some brownie points.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. She was like, I heard her talking to my daughter. She's like, "You should have seen Dad. He just he jumped out of bed, he grabbed his gun, and he walked right into the garage."
Do you know the only thing you're missing?
I didn't get the shot.
Sword tattoo.
Oh, I know. Oh,
See,
dude.
that would have.
Well, let's
He
go
probably
handle
would have
that.
stopped if you'd had a sword tattoo. He probably would have just proned himself out.
That's
Like,
right.
he's got a sword tattoo.
My
Like,
stupid Celtic knot work doesn't work to scare
well, no,
anybody.
it's good, but I'm telling you, the sword that throws them off. Like,
Yeah.
they know it's game over with the sword
Right.
tattoo.
Yeah. And he ran, and I stupidly ran after him. See, that was where I was made a mistake. I ran after him.
We call it over penetrating.
I
Yep,
over-penetrated.
you over penetrated. Yep.
Yeah.
Kept going. Yeah.
And so
That's all right.
But
you
I
learned
realized
though. But you're right.
I
You're
stopped.
talking about.
I stopped about 2 houses down the street, and I was barefoot. It was literally 20 degrees. I was in a pair of gym shorts, and that was it.
Right.
No top. I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
He was yelling, "Who's next?" Like Mel Gibson.
Well, I wanted
on
to
Lethal Weapon.
I wanted to like release a round up into the sky, and just like really scare him.
Right.
But
Good.
I didn't do that.
Cooler heads prevailed, and you didn't.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But that was actually. I'm not gonna. I mean,
Do you remember what I told you when you said, "What about breathing?" You remember that? You were
Breathing?
like, "Should I breathe? Should I hold my breath?" You remember what I
yeah,
told you?
You're like, breathe.
No, I was like, remember I said the only thing that matters is who's breathing at the end. That's all that matters. Like, unless you're like competition shooting, the only thing that matters is who's breathing when you're done.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, that was like that was a highlight of my shooting experiences when I got to go with you to shoot, and you were
Right.
getting all your stuff together to leave, and I got to see all your tools.
Accoutrements. Or whatever.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. Nice.
That was cool, man. Hey, man,
awesome.
thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, this was fun. This is good for me. It's therapy, and one thing people should. You've known me for a long time. This is not my gig. This is not my thing.
Yeah.
But to make it work, I have to come out of my. I'm definitely not For years, I thought I was an extrovert until I met with someone, and they were like, "No, you're an introvert that just extroverts when you need to."
Yeah.
But to get this going and get this money in the hands of people that need it, I got to do this and come out of my shell. And
Yeah. Well, you're a
So,
natural,
yeah.
man.
yeah, I'll sleep for like 3 days after this though, because all the stuff going on. It's like a mission, like I need to go home and sleep,
So
eat
then-
a steak and sleep.
Dude, I do this every week.
Yeah,
I must be like a hero to you.
you are. You are.
All right, man. Well, look, we'll get you back on again.
Nice.
And when you blow up and you're like known, like you're like in the circles, you're known. You'll give us a shout every now and again.
Absolutely. I'll come back.
Thanks.
We'll keep doing it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I got more stories. So I got 33 years of stories.
All right.
Yeah.
I do some good impressions too, some impersonations, but not for tonight. We won't do it.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me. Awesome.
And everybody, go check out carnivoremikefoxtrot.com, and eventually you'll be able to get to Deadly Hands Blood Money as well on the web. And
There's an Instagram and Facebook for both of the Instagram and Facebook for both of those.
Okay.
But
we'll put those links in our show notes.
Nice.
So people can have access to them. Go buy a couple shirts, give them some support, show them what you mean. And Mike, we'll talk to you a little bit later.
awesome. Thank you.
Rosie,
Yes, sir.
it's been awesome, brother.
It has been.
All right. What do you like to say? What is it that you
Stay hydrated.
That's right. We'll catch you next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the All Out War podcast today. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you next time.